MBA at the University of Texas McCombs School of Business, where she studied executive leadership. As the president of Scenic Texas, Sarah is focused on educating the public on the importance of visual environment and natural resource preservation, strengthening partnerships and chapters and advocacy that results in the empowerment of citizens to safeguard scenic qualities of Texas highways, countryside, and communities. In this role, she, she has recruited more than 10 new board members, fundraised $300,000 for the annual budget, created the Million Trees Across Texas initiative, and managed the Scenic City Certification Program that is now in its 11th year and features 85 Texas communities and 18 program partners. Always community-minded, she has served on various boards and commissions with the Friends of the Government Canyon Natural Area and Hutto Historic Commission to keep Hutto beautiful, and the Austin Commission for Women. She has also volunteered for causes that are near and dear to her heart, including Meals on Wheels, Pug Rescue Austin, Habitat for Humanity, and Texas Conference for Women, and has been a member of the Austin Ballet and Lady Bird Wildflower Center. She's a fifth generation Texan and grew up on the Guadalupe River. She has a deep appreciation for adventuring outdoors. Whenever she has a free weekend, she can be found mountain biking, hiking, skiing, sailing, glamping, or restoring the family's ranch in Rock Springs into a wildlife conservation ranch. I'd like to introduce Sarah Tober. She's going to tell us about Scenic Texas.
Yes, I am. Thank you. I think you pretty much covered it. I feel like that's a wrap, guys. No, thank you so much for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm bummed that I don't get to be there in person, but I'm excited to hear that y'all are moving back towards that. I always love to make it out to Wimberley. And as Patrick mentioned, I grew up in the Hill Country and Berkheim, right down the road. And now I'm headquartered in Austin. So I'm always just kind of in that triangle. I have a little presentation prepared, and Lynn and I had kind of talked previously. Feel free to turn your camera off or on, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I'm happy to see everyone's faces and your reactions to my presentation, but I also know, you know, sometimes it's more convenient to turn off your screen. I get that. So I am going, everyone see my screen? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Scenic Texas. We are a 37-year-old organization that has primarily been volunteer-based until a few years ago when the chapters came together in the board and they created a strategic plan, and they hired me and they expanded the mission. And so our organization was fundamentally kind of founded around eliminating billboards in the state of Texas. And over time, that mission has expanded to wanting to plant trees and wildflowers along those rights of way instead of billboards. We are an extension of Lady Bird Johnson's vision of Texas the Beautiful. And let's see. And so, yes, this is our mission statement. And so we are really focused on that right of way area, which is there's miles and miles of course, across the state of Texas. But one of the things that Lady Bird Johnson envisioned in all of her drives to DC and those road trips is that those right-of-ways are really public space, and she envisioned public gardens along those drives. And as over time, we know with academic studies that have found that your mental health is connected to those scenic roads, your emotional health. You can actually measure somebody's stresses going down on a scenic road versus a road that has a lot of billboards or digital billboards or visual blight. So it is a natural resource, and kind of based on that, we have created 3 tenets of our organization, and that is education, collective impact, and advocacy. Oh, I also meant to give a shout out to Ainsley because I also went to UTSA. I'm excited to see another UTSA alum here as well. So yeah, so back to the presentation, education and education. So when I say that, that is focused on those visual environment tenants. And so that's where the Scenic City Certification Program was kind of birthed 11 years ago, was in that need of educating community leaders and planners on the importance of your visual environment and protecting that. Collective impact is where we work with other nonprofits and organizations to further our reach and strengthen our mission without adding all the overhead costs of a lot of staff and that sort of thing. So we try to leverage those partnerships and relationships. And then advocacy is kind of the fundamental of what we were formed around. It was advocacy at the state capitol and then advocacy at city halls across the state that relates to that visual environment protection. So, and when I say advocacy today, what that means, especially in this last legislative session, is we are not taking out legislators to dinners or fancy vacations, but rather educating them on the importance of our visual environment and why we need to protect it. So we actually were able to advocate successfully 2 bills this session. One is the Scenic Byway bill, where we were the last state to have a state scenic byway program. As you can see here, we are the only one not on this national scenic byways map, and it's because we didn't have a state scenic program, and therefore we couldn't be part of the national one. This is used as a tourism draw and an economic development tool, but it's also used to get funding, federal funding related to beautification projects on scenic roads. So we actually have 30 protected roads, existing highways, so over 1,300 miles of protected roads under our transportation code. And this really is a bipartisan effort. We actually had Representative Morales, who's a Democrat in West Texas, carry it in the House, and then Senator Donna Campbell. I'm sorry, no, I just blanked. I'm sorry. Buckingham, Dawn Buckingham. I'm so sorry. Who is a Republican? She carried it in the Senate side, and so it was Senate Bill 941 that got passed. And we now have a state scenic byway program. So we're working hand in hand with TxDOT to formulate that program and implement it. And we actually did an interactive map already of those stretches of highway that are now eligible to become scenic byways. So we could have up to 30 scenic byways pretty immediately if people apply for it. So that's some exciting news on that front. And then the other piece that we worked on, the legislative bill for dark sky protection. So that definitely affects your area in the Hill Country because there were a number of communities that couldn't pass those ordinances related to protecting the dark skies and becoming International Dark Sky Association certified. So because we worked again with Dawn Buckingham, Senator Dawn Buckingham, that bill passed as well. And so now we have dark sky protection for all these communities as well, which is a growing astrotourism is a growing industry as well. But, you know, obviously so many people move to the Hill Country for scenic views and for those scenic stars. So this is the Scenic City Certification Program, just to give you a little bit of an overview of it. This program is founded on 10 visual environment tenets. So it is things like streetscaping and landscaping and street runoff. It's sign controls, it's parks, trails, and open spaces. We found that this is very important during COVID. I mean, the city of Austin for as much as it's been touted as a green city, realized that we were woefully unprepared when the entire population is there in the city. There's not enough urban pathways to connect folks. So we had to close down streets to create them. And there's not enough green space for folks to be able to enjoy the parks. And so that's a major tenet of our program, is ensuring that there's enough park space for your population and for the growth of your community. So there's other things like litter and graffiti prohibition. The lighting standards, again, go with the dark sky standards as well. Utility and cable line burial is something that's a growing importance to us, because we're seeing a number of case studies in Florida that are demonstrating that not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but it's also improving the grid and improving the resilience of it. So this is something that's on our radar that we're trying to promote as well, especially as areas become further developed. And so then we have design integrity, dumpster screening. So these are all the tenets of the visual environment standards. And when we say scenic city, we like to say, you know, this is not a beauty contest, but it is about beautification. So we are looking at these communities' ordinances and plans as it relates to the growth of their city. And so it's a diagnostic tool, and it's very in-depth. And we've got a number of program partners who have helped form this program and continue to review those applications every year. So this year we have 23 cities within our class that are certifying or recertifying or ranking up. And these are some of the Hill Country scenic cities that are around you currently. So we want to expand our presence in the Hill Country. I think we've seen that kind of the same thing with the city of Austin. When you're known for your beauty, you kind of maybe don't think it's necessary to get a label that says scenic city. But in reality, as what we're seeing with the development and rapid densification of our state, we're seeing that there is a need for these kind of development tools, that we need to have these plans and ordinances in place for the growth of that's happening in our state. So our Scenic City program is more relevant than ever, we feel like, especially after experiencing COVID and everything that we had with that. So last year we launched a 1 Million Trees Across Texas program, and I think this is probably going to be of most interest to you. This is an initiative that was brought to us by our Scenic Texas member and Dripping Springs resident, Bill Brock. He came to us last year and said, I want to plant 1 million trees across Texas along roadways and highways. He said, and I planted 1 million in Guatemala when I was in the Peace Corps in my youth. And now that he's older and retired and has kids and grandkids, he wants to leave a legacy for Texas. And I think he was also inspired by his wife's grandparents planted some of the trees in Zilker Park in Austin. And so every time they go to Zilker Park and enjoy those beautiful trees, he's thinking about his own legacy. And so I immediately said, this makes perfect sense with our mission. Let's see if we can do it. So we spent last year hunkered down with COVID, researching how we can launch this industrious initiative and be successful at it. And we looked at the model that they are incorporating in areas of Europe, where they are planting diversified species along those overpasses and like those cloverleaf formations as you see here. And those diverse species are growing up quite quickly. So when you have 75 different species that are native, they grow up quite quickly and create a nice little mini forest. And not only is it aesthetically pleasing, but it is also sequestering carbon, filtering that air, and then also providing migratory birds with some food on the go. So we love that concept. We want to employ that here in the state of Texas. However, Scenic Texas is, for all the years that we've been around, we're still very small. It is me and one staff member she is our coordinator for the Scenic City program and now for the 1 Million Trees Across Texas. So how we're implementing this is we've had a ton of meetings. We've done a lot of research. We had our first planting in San Marcos in partnership with the San Marcos River Foundation last year along I-35. We planted about 110 trees. And then this year we're going to be planting actually somewhere between 12 and 1,800 trees. And how we're doing that is we're developing some partnerships with folks like the Texas Forest Service and Arbor Day Foundation, Lady Bird Wildflower Center, and tree folks. And then we have opened this up to our Scenic City program. So these same scenic cities are coming back and letting us know if they want to plant trees, and we are helping convey those trees with proper instruction and proper maintenance for the first 2 years. We've also accounted for the different ecoregions of the state, kind of based on Texas Forest Service and Arbor Day Foundation's ecoregions of the state as well. And we are ensuring that there are native species provided for that region. So we are still kind of in a fluid state in this program in terms of putting it together, getting those partners formed, and how we're going to do the plantings, because we are participating in a number of these plantings, but we can't oversee them all. And we have received a tremendous response from the scenic cities. And then we're going to continue to expand that footprint beyond the Scenic City program and into even the tree cities that is through the Arbor Day Foundation. And really also focusing on those underserved communities as it relates to racial equity as well, where we are seeing a number of, there was a New York Times article recently and also an NPR piece on how we're seeing that those underserved areas have a real lack of trees. The more affluent the area, the more there are trees, which can make all the difference of temperature too, a 10-degree temperature and that sort of thing. So we're still shaping the program, but we have aspirations to grow it to 5,000 plantings next year. We've had San Marcos come back to us and they want to plant 1,000 trees this year. So we're getting our resources in line to be able to scale this program, and then also simultaneously be able to plant some of these mini forests along those overpasses. Now, Bill has identified 103 overpasses from Austin to Dallas along 35. So that is one of our goals, is to plant those. And it may be what we're also looking at in a partnership with tree folks in a planting this fall that we're trying to do in Belton, is that it may come in layers. So we plant a few hundred trees this year, a few hundred trees next year, and just continue to plant and grow in that capacity. So yes, that is Scenic Texas in a nutshell. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. We'd love for you to consider signing up for our newsletter. That's free. If you want to become an annual Scenic Texas member, we send you a packet of bluebonnet seeds to be planted along a road or highway. And it also helps us to plant a tree with our fall plantings. So any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So are all the trees that are being planted along US 281 from 306 south toward San Antonio, is that part of this initiative?
It is not. That's probably a TxDOT Green Ribbon Program project. So we have worked with TxDOT's Green Ribbon Program for the last 30 years. And they have, it's kind of the reason why we launched this program too, was in response to the need for more tree plantings like that, where they are focused on major cities for attainment. So anytime there's an expansion of the highway and a big project, 1% of that has to go to a green ribbon program. So that's why you will get a big tree planting in those areas after a big project like that. And then they maintain it for the first 2 years, and then they turn it over to either a county or a city entity that is in charge of maintaining it after that. So we've kind of been modeling our program after the Green Ribbon program. So that's more than likely what that project is related to.
So is this a volunteer opportunity or not?
It is, yeah. The San Marcos River Foundation planting that we had last year, we had about 25 volunteers come out and we were able to plant those trees in a few hours. So yes, if you are interested in volunteering, please do drop me an email. It's sarah@scenictexas.org, or you can go online and onto our website and hop in that way too.
Okay, thank you.
I'm with the River Foundation and I worked very intensely with that last year, so I'll know what's going on with that. Tentatively in December, we're gonna do another planting.
You're the master naturalist, right?
Yeah,
Yes, so Richard helped plan where those trees were going to be planted exactly. So he was instrumental in making that happen. So thank you again for that work. That was incredible.
well, thank you. And we got 82 still alive.
That's
So,
great. Hey,
you know,
that's
we
pretty
had,
good.
you know, we planted, it was drought and
Yeah.
for the first 4 months. And we just have a couple of master naturalists in this class, Barbara and Malcolm Johnson, and they've been watering them. And of course, they haven't had to, they've been lazy lately because they haven't had to do anything, but thank goodness. And we've been very fortunate. We had a good year in that respect, that we're going into the summer in really good shape. So hopefully
Wow.
we'll make it. Yeah. So that,
Well,
I really didn't expect this much, this many to survive, and then the big freeze and all of that. So
exactly. I was just going to say that. Yeah. That's incredible. I'll be sure to share that with Bill too, because he's been, I think, intermittently asking you about the
yeah,
health
I
of
just
those
I
trees.
sent him some pictures today, actually.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
I don't have a question, but Sarah, thank you for presenting and thank you for what you do. This is a wonderful program. I'm so pleased to hear about it.
Thank you, Lynn.
You bet.
And thank you all for what you do. We actually had a tree species that was considered invasive. And as we were going into this Horseshoe Bay planting, and this is a little bit of a different take on our program, where we're actually going to be working with the residents themselves and planting 1 to 2 trees along their road front. And so we had a master naturalist, point out that this tree species that we had on our list was considered invasive, and we were able to take it off immediately. So we need that kind of second set of eyes to help guide our efforts too, in making sure that we are planting the proper native species for the proper ecoregion of Texas. So thank you all for what you do too.
You're certainly welcome. And I know everybody at this meeting enjoys a little camaraderie around native plants. I did a question. Is Kerrville one of your participating communities?
We do not, they are not a scenic city yet, but we still have our
Okay.
eyes on them to get them to be.
I'll touch base with
And
you.
I've got to get my hometown
sometime.
of Bernie as well.
Man,
Yeah, that would
planted
be
all
great.
those big tooth maples all over the city. So
Yes. Yes.
I go down
they-
there,
that
few
would be-
seeds every year.
That's
And
fantastic.
Utopia's got a great number of big tooth maples out along the right of way, and they generally have enough seeds to share a few with a
Oh, that's
crazy
excellent.
Central Texas guy.
I do have a question. I'm wondering, what kind of trees did you plant in San Marcos? I'm just curious as to what species. You know, or Dick, do you know?
We had some oaks and some sycamore, and he had kind of the standard ones. we had some shrubs too, and at the end, he had some, oh gosh, trying to think of it. Anyway, some what we would call as natives, but we threw them in there anyway. So anyway, but they're coming along, yeah.
Are there any additional questions? I guess if not, certainly thank you, Sarah, for everything and your presentation. And I hope that we continue to be a team member for both of our good, and look forward to that relationship down the road. No pun
Absolutely.
intended, but that's a great one. Oh,
Thanks,
goodness.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Y'all have a
Thank
good
you for your
evening.
time.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
And I guess
Thank
that
you.
concludes our meeting for tonight. We'll see y'all next month, I hope.